Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. Welcome home, y'all. This is episode 121 of Native Land Pod, where we give you our breakdown on all things politics and a little bit of culture sprinkled in every now and again. I'm your host for today, Andrew Gillum, and I'm joined by my fellow co-host, the amazing, incredible, talented, beautiful...
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Angela Rye.
Jesus Christ.
Bakari Sellers here. We're also joined today by a very, 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 very important VVIP for the show, the host of Revolts, the People's Brief. And many of us fell in love with her during her sporadic social media posts, Parking Lot Pimpin. And guess what else? Fresh off of her own 2026 NAACP Image Award.
Everybody. Thank you.
Y'all, we're joined today by Lynae Vanee. What's up? What's up, everybody? Welcome home.
The poetess, our poet laureate.
Unfortunately, everybody,
today.
this is a teaching moment. Everybody across the globe who follows my content knows and loves me. My name does not rhyme. My name is Lynae
Vanee.
And that's okay. It's phonetic. Everything's fine.
Do you know what? Nobody has told me that.
It's in the script, but keep going.
I didn't know, but in all the times we have
but
been
it's also
Lynae,
it's also two E's though. So I mean that would
but phonetically it's too long.
You know, black
E's.
people
There's
do
no
have
accent.
Renee's, and Renee's got two E's sometimes. I can understand the confusion, but it does.
There's no accent on mine.
Lynae Vanee.
Like
and
me?
I did take French for 4 years in high
Like
school
me?
and 4 in college. So I think I try to make
Let's just reintro the last part so we get it right.
But he went to FAM. We should keep that so
Shut
that
up.
everybody knows that
the hell
those
up.
4 years.
Okay,
those 4
I
years.
pulled that clip of that brother running from
Out
fam
of
like.
respect for all of our awesome, incredible listeners, I know you all's heads have been on a swivel as Donald Trump continues his march to have all of us on some kind of anxiety prescription medication. But the devil is a liar. There's a lot going on in the world. We're going to do our very best to cover as many of these important topics as we possibly can. I will go ahead and not bury the lead. Elections occurred this week, and we're going to talk about it. It'll be part of our main topic today. But also there's a war raging in the Middle East, and it seems to be expanding every single day, taking on a new country and a new country and a new country. This is the world and Donald Trump's mind. And now our unfortunate reality. But before we get to all of that, we've got, of course, Bakari's favorite part of the show, FISA. I think I'm the only one that uses that, so y'all please.
You are. I call it NSSW.
It is
It's
for
not what it
your
is.
situational awareness. And y'all, I'm just going to invite you to bring in your topics, the thing that you wanted the listeners to be aware of. But I'm going to kick us off because I have grown very, very used to, and I'm sure you all have as well, when you're watching congressional hearings under these Republican senators' leadership, also known as ladies in waiting to Trump, Democrats do all the heavy lifting. Well, this week and in this particular committee, the Democrats got an assist from a Republican, none other than Tom Tillis of North Carolina, as they, for the first time, heard from Secretary Kristi Noem, Department of Homeland Security, since all of the chaos that she rolled out in Minnesota. Let's hear Tom Tillis join the Democrats in some heavy lifting on the committee.
And what we've seen is a disaster. Under your leadership, Ms. Noem, a disaster. What we've seen is innocent people getting detained that turn out are American citizens. I could talk about the culture that's been created here with Stephen Miller aiding and abetting. I heard first reports that he was the one that said it was a domestic terrorist situation where 2 people lost their lives in Minneapolis. I've heard that report. Maybe you can refute it. I don't know that we'll have time for you to respond because I'm giving you a performance evaluation here. I'm not looking for a response. And I'm saying, Ms. Noem, that time after time after time I've been disappointed. But before I get back to looking at the vicious people that did this damage to these families, I want to talk a minute about FEMA.
I was just going to say, bear with me because there's a second clip from the senator. And usually we don't go this long with the clips. But y'all, it's not every day that a Republican finds a spine. So let's go with the second part, because it wasn't just about ICE. He also wanted to school the secretary about her book.
Secretary, I read your book last week. And honestly, some of the parts of it impressed me, but some of it distresses me. And I'll give you a good example of one that does. The passage where you talk about killing a dog that was 14 months old. I train dogs, all right? And you are a farmer. You should know better. You should know that if you're going out to a hunting lodge and you're putting pheasants out and you're putting dogs out, you don't take a puppy out there. A 14-month-old dog is basically a teenager in dog years. You decided to kill that dog because you had not invested the appropriate time in training, and then you have the audacity to go into a book and say it's a leadership lesson about tough choices. It's in your book. We could play it if we had time. At that same lunch hour, you killed a goat. And you killed the goat because you said it was behaving badly. You are a farmer. You don't castrate a goat. They behave badly. You should have probably done that before. But my point is, those are bad decisions made in the heat of the moment, not unlike what happened up in Minneapolis. We're an exceptional nation. And one of the reasons we're exceptional is we expect exceptional leadership. And you've demonstrated anything but that in the time that I've seen you responding to the emergency in North Carolina and across the Southeast, and acknowledging when mistakes are made, and speaking too soon for the expedient of social media or whatever it is.
Why is he still talking? I was going to say, damn,
refreshing.
he's a long clip.
It is long. Refreshing, however, to hear a Republican finally stand up, say what's been on their minds all along with a degree of earnestness that reflects, I think, where the majority of American people are. Now, if you all are wondering on the listening side how it is that Tom Tillis found the courage, I should have also said that he has announced his retirement and will not be running again for re-election from the great state of North Carolina.
No, I still think there's value in it. And I am not going to, I actually know Tom Tillis. He was a Speaker of the House in North Carolina when I was in the General Assembly here. So I actually am very familiar. I broke my ribs playing in the North Carolina-South Carolina basketball game one time, and Tom Tillis escorted me to the hospital. I know him very well, just in a random story. However, there has to be space during this time of battle where when people do right, say right things, regardless of their circumstances or context, we add them to our, mode or means in which we're fighting this battle. At the end of the day, politics is still the same, and people forget this all the time, and activists forget this all the time, and people on the far left and far right forget this all the time. And politics is about addition and multiplication. It's not about subtraction and division. Tom Tillis hit every note. He was right. I'm not saying he's a Democrat. I'm not saying we should give him a Medal of Honor. I'm not saying anything else. But I'm saying during this moment of truth and honesty, he said everything appropriately about Kristi Noem. He skewered her appropriately, and he's going to lay the foundation for others to do the same.
Can I just say, it is so frustrating that they finally stop gaslighting us when they decide to retire or resign because they got caught up in their own stuff. It's really frustrating, especially given where we are right now. What also irritated me remarkably about the farmer connection to Minneapolis is we're talking about two people who were killed in Minneapolis that we know of. All of the hundreds of people who have been disappeared in this country. Keith Porter Jr., who was killed in California, and he's talking about a goddamn dog and a goat. So I just, that irritated me.
He was saying you failed to train.
But that was 4 minutes. But that was 4 minutes. That was 4 minutes.
I know what he said. And we damn near played all 15 minutes on the show. I'm just saying.
There's 10 more. There's 10 more.
I'm sure. And I'm saying I heard enough at 45 seconds in. I do not want people's lives to be compared to a farmer's bad decisions about a goat and a dog. And I'm not saying that the goat and the dog don't deserve to live before Tip, PETA, and everybody the hell else come after me. What I'm saying is please do not compare ICE's bad decisions with their bad bonuses that people will never badly get to what she did on the farm. I just don't care. Her ass should have stayed on the farm. Anyway, that's all I got. I just, Tom. Thank you for taking Bakari's broke ribs to the hospital, too. We appreciate you.
First of all, I felt a lot better. I felt a lot better after that. They gave me this little medicated Anyway, go ahead.
Thanks so much.
I
Thanks so
said
much.
No,
thank
it's
you.
fine. No, it's
We're
fine.
glad.
And I understand what you're saying, because I don't think we have to equate like human lives to animal lives for them to matter. I think what I took from that clip, I ignore a lot of the fluff because I don't expect nothing but bullshit to come out of these people's mouths anyway, especially if they're late to the game. But just what I took out of it is using Kristi Noem's words against her trying to peddle this propaganda that she has to make tough decisions as a leader when the tough decisions she made were due to a lack of poor planning on her part as a leader.
That's right.
So that's what I took from it.
That's right.
I hear what everybody's saying, but anytime somebody is calling out Kristi, I'm gonna figure out what they're saying because there's truth to it.
That's how I feel that. We're moving on, but just to say, I think we are, let's state the obvious, we're applauding people for doing the very basic level of their jobs. I get it.
I'm not.
But when it is so absent by the other side, it does seem to stand out when somebody over there does stand up, or at least sits up if he ain't all the way standing. Angela, I heard you had a little something on your mind you wanted to get off.
Staying with crazy white women. Megyn Kelly is who I want to talk about this morning. Megyn Kelly, for the first time in my Black life, I think I might agree with her. Let's roll the clip.
Look, there are massive divisions over what we've done here, and people are going to change their minds over the coming days and weeks, one way or the other. But my own feeling is no one should have to die for a foreign country. I don't think those 4 service members died for the United States. I think they died for Iran or for Israel. I think I understand how this helps Iran perfectly well. I get it. I mean, I hope. Long term, we'll see. But they seem rather jubilant. 80% of the country does not support the Ayatollah. He was a terrible, terrible man. No one's crying that he's dead. No normal person. But our government's job is not to look out for Iran or for Israel. It's to look out for us. And this feels very much to me like it is clearly Israel's war. Mark Levin wanted it. It's his war. Ben Shapiro, Lindsey Graham, Miriam Adelson. That's obvious.
So I want to just clarify, I didn't agree with everything she said, but I think that it's important to note that there are too many times where American lives are sacrificed for a concept that we may not be clear on. The fact that Donald Trump did not get congressional approval, authorization for this war, and he ran on America first and not engaging in war, and he's engaging in the very opposite of that. In fact, there was conversation about Ecuador, putting troops on the ground in Ecuador just on Tuesday. So I just want to flag that this is the first commonsensical thing I have ever heard Megyn Kelly say. So kudos to you, Megyn. Try to keep it going.
Put Angela down on the side of addition,
but I mean,
multiplication.
But that's just what we said about Tom Tillis. I mean, it's the kind of the same trough.
Well, tell me how you see that.
It's the same thing,
because
Angela.
It's the same thing. I mean, somebody on the other side finally. I know, but neither is he.
No, but I'm saying he's not. Okay, I want to hear this. Go.
No, I mean, I'm going to say something that's hyper super. I'm trying to say something that's hyper superficial. No, I mean, I'm not going to dig into the content of it because it is what it is. I was going to say that I actually appreciated the Dracula chic that she was wearing. The turtleneck. How she got.
Turtleneck too. I was like, I actually like this top
with
too.
the collarbone to the midriff out. I just thought that the Dracula chic. I ain't see.
I love
no, that's what is it called above the? What's it above the? From the breast to the collarbone. What is it? Your chest?
That's a chest.
No, it's called. It's got a French name though. What's this called?
Cleavage?
No,
I don't know.
I'm
whatever she had out with
I don't think that it's
with the turtleneck. With the turtleneck, with that, I just thought.
I
thought she looked good.
I want to hear Andrew. I want to hear why you think that.
I think it's on the nose.
It's the exact same thing. Yeah, it's actually
Tell me why she's not in office.
No, it's not about being in office. It's about the fact that she's a person who influences
others.
Help me
out, Lynae?
Yeah,
in a major way.
I was just going to say, in the vein of people who frequently say things that we don't want to hear, or who are canonically on the wrong side of history.
Who is
they're
toxic
saying
as a
something
person.
right
that
for
is
the
true.
first time. I also think of Nick Fuentes telling everybody to vote Democrat now.
My
thing about all these people.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, I think my thing with all these people is, are they saying things that are on, I guess, our side of the fight? Sure, but they are only commenting on things they think are so far from I guess, themselves, but the issues that remain here in America, they're still 100% down for perpetuating.
Agreed.
So
Absolutely.
those are
Absolutely.
my vibes on all three of those people.
Agreed. But I think it's fair game for folks to criticize us if we give laudatory comments about people who otherwise 99.9% of the time are opposite us and want to speak to our demise. But the truth is everybody don't get bought to the Savior the same way, right? Different walks in life lead you down
And see, that's where I'm cutting it off. I'm not giving these people that much. Just because you have one good opinion and
No,
one situational thing.
No, I'm just saying the opinion, if it leads to them voting the right way, tossing Republicans out of power and putting Democrats in who will then hopefully, if they have their spine, keep the president accountable, I'm all right with that.
I don't think
it might lead
do
to
that.
a temporary fix or a temporary hurrah. But what
I
happens
agree
right
with you.
after? Yeah.
I don't believe it's a marriage made in forever. I think it is a transaction.
It's a one-night stand.
There it is. It's a transaction.
It's not even a permanent interest. It's a temporary interest.
Caution all the young people listening. One-night stands can lead to a long
I don't know why this dude stays off message.
No,
if he said that Ellen would kill him, do you understand?
Absolutely not. But I'm just saying, y'all act like one-night stands can't lead to a long day or long
life. Lynae, I think you had a story to tell.
Wow.
Ooh, is that a segue?
That's
a terrible segue.
Anywho,
Lord have mercy.
I was going to say, before we went down this tragic road, that I think we can file both of these, even though I don't see the exact parallel. I'm willing to file both of these under broken clocks are right twice a day. Okay?
That's the whole parallel.
Okay.
All right.
That's all I got for y'all.
We accept
it. Yes. I just want to do a little bit of chatting. I guess this is more pop culture-y, but the brand owner, Anifa, of Hanifa, the brand, is deciding to shut down her business. I believe we have a graphic. There are a lot of videos out there, but they're kind of long discussing what went down. A little bit of the backstory is she had this super sale over Black Friday. She had like 45% off of all garments, but they were all pre-order. And unfortunately for her business, manufacturing had so many delays, it pushed people's pre-orders back and people were rightfully upset. And so after the initial discomfort, people were supposed to get their stuff in December and January, and still some folks have not gotten their things. So she posted earlier this week and says, it's a strange thing to grieve something that's still alive, because at times this entire situation feels like grief. The waves of it, just heavy in a way that's hard to explain. I've been sitting with this question for some time now. Is it all worth it? I've considered shutting Hanifa down because that was a lot. I think we can all agree. When something goes wrong at this level, you don't argue the cost, you deal with it and you take responsibility.
Is that the
my
only way?
thing with this? Well,
is that the only way to take responsibility?
Can I ask a question? Because I'm unfamiliar.
She did a lot of measures to try to take responsibility. What?
Yeah.
I can ask a question. I don't know much about this, but and so this question comes from pure ignorance. That's my self-awareness. My therapist keeps talking to me about. So, why have a sell and sell more product than you can afford to sell?
I think it's her business model. You ever shopped at Hanifa before?
Yeah.
I don't even know what it is. I ain't gonna lie to you. So that's how I said it comes straight from ignorance. But I mean, just on a basic ignorance, economics platform. Thank you, Angela. I'm trying to learn.
I was not being an ass. I really was saying I don't know that she was asking you. I think she was asking generally. Maybe, Lynae, you tell us what you were doing, because I didn't mean to offend.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, I think it's her business model, and sometimes it might be more advantageous financially for a business to do business this way, especially if they have a particular relationship and turnaround time with manufacturers. Sometimes it's just the way that they choose. It has worked for her in the past. As someone who has shopped at Hanifa a number of times, there are always items that seem to be on pre-order, but I often get them before the date that's set on the website. This just happened to be a really unfortunate situation, and she was on maternity leave. And I think what exacerbated the situation is that the 45% off sale brought in a lot of customers that don't typically shop, because the price point is a little higher, because Hanifa is a brand that is more catered to special occasions and a little bit better quality than what a lot of women have options to shop for. But anyway, so it just brought in a lot of people who are not familiar with her model. or just with the business itself. And so it engendered a huge conversation online about whether she herself as an individual is responsible for this mishap, whether the business adequately tried to remedy the situation. Yeah. All I know is that they tried to do a lot of communicating about what was going on, but someone made a video that was a great point. I just said that they focus on like special occasional wear. So a lot of people order this banking on it to be here in time for a particular opportunity. Yeah. And so they've already invested X amount of dollars on this to now not have it. It does create frustration. But I think what that person also said in the video I'm thinking of is that we don't have this same sort of vitriol when we get 72 items from Shein and none of them fit right.
Well,
and this is all poorly made.
This is the thing. I think, I was raised in a household where it was so important to us to shop Black businesses. And so the narrative that a lot of people have around, well, if it's a Black business, you're not going to get it on time, or they ain't going to do you right, or they going to have an attitude. I didn't grow up with that. And so it always shocks me to see that type of vitriol and hate, especially in a public space like on social. Anifa has always been helpful. Like, I had some stuff on back order for a while that I ordered in October, and I got it basically for Christmas. And I know, like, tariffs are impacting our businesses, whether you're Black, brown, white, or whatever. Manufacturers can't afford to stay open because of inflation and all of these other things. There are many challenges that go far beyond this very amazing visual that she's created, and her products, which are also amazing and amazing quality. I can't wait to wear the 4 things I ordered. But I will just say, like, I hate this for her. And I hate that it had to be such a public condemnation. It wasn't loving at all. It didn't feel like a buildup. It felt like people very much so waiting to tear her down. So I just want to send love to her.
But this isn't her modus operandi, right? This is an exception.
No. What I'm saying is she relied on a manufacturer that fell short. So there was a breach in the supply chain.
What I was trying to establish is whether or not this is kind of how it is. It's always a delay. And it sounds to me it's not.
I think Lynae was saying the same thing, right? Like, this has never been the case. Normally, she would get her items before the pre-order date established. Same. And I'm saying that there are other implications. And so when we tell people at home to pay attention to politics, that if you don't do politics, politics will still do you. This is what we mean. It will impact you at healthcare, from urgent care to your primary care physician. It will impact the prescription drug that your parent has to rely on. It will impact whether or not you get your badass dress to wear in time for that event you couldn't wait to get to. Your politics will do you. Step up, say something, and definitely don't attack one another. We cannot afford to cannibalize each other.
I just think that this is I was going to say that this is a unique time for Black businesses. I think that they're feeling the brunt of a lot of things. And I feel like, based upon my questioning, because I don't shop at Anifa, I don't know them. And so that's why I was appreciative of you guys educating me on the topic. But I feel like there are different bushels that Black businesses fall into, like the general public. But I think that we're seeing, whether or not you're talking about Slutty Vegan, that's utilizing all of the resources necessary that they could use in terms of bankruptcy and other things like other businesses use, or Uncle Near's, which is going through their own issues, or now Hanifa, which is going through their own issues. I think each one of those 3 are in 3 different bushels, but I think we should probably talk about that or dig through on this show in particular, maybe in the upcoming weeks. Bring somebody on to talk about and educate folk on some of the trials and tribulations that these Black businesses are going through during these turbulent times. Because I just identified 3 that are struggling on different fronts, like in different ways. I wish. You say what now?
Yeah, I myself, I had a business. I started a business maybe a year and a half ago, and it was primarily tea, but also fine china, like actual teacups manufactured in China. Once I started
like them cups she uses on the parking lot pimping, for those that watch.
Not close by. But once I saw the things that were happening with the tariffs, and also hearing from my manufacturers that things were slowing down, because I already knew that running the business was already a tax on myself as a creative and all these things, I liquidated it. I said, we can come back to this later once all this stuff is fixed, but I knew it was not going to turn out well for me, given my particular products. That's not any sort of shade to anybody else who didn't make that decision. But I want to go back to your earlier question as well about, like, why have a model or why sell more than you can afford. Pre-order sometimes has to be what Black businesses get because they don't have the capital to invest in like all this inventory.
Yeah, it's not afford. It's not afford. No, I don't want to. No. I want to clarify because it's not more than you can. It's not more than you can afford. It's understanding your production your the request or the volume requested. And so there has to be some, and this isn't, I'm not condemning Hanifa. I'm just asking the question of, can you produce as much as the request or the supply requires? Can your demand, can your supply meet your demand is simply what I'm asking. That is the question that I'm asking.
And she would have said yes before, and I think to Lynae's earlier
and
point,
that
we should move on to the next clip.
Yeah.
Yeah, like she got a flood of new customers. So no, in that instance, she couldn't. Every other time she could.
I hate to belabor this, but the reason I asked early on was closing the only option here. It seems, and you all may know, you clearly will know better than me, but maybe there were a number of things happening and then like this on top of it, or was this unfortunate delay and the unique nature of the demand being so much greater than what her normal sales might solicit was whatever indebtedness that was created from that incident so great a financial burden going forward that she just couldn't keep the business.
Or was it brand harm too? That could be it too.
I think it was a number of things. She also has a brand spanking new baby boy at the house and is trying her best.
It could have been a lot.
Yeah.
Could have been a lot too. Okay. All right. I feel that. All right. Well, I wish them well. The funny thing, Bakari, is you started to list the businesses.
Yeah.
Was that in our community, it's crazy because we can list the businesses on our fingers. And in the majority community, we get abused. I mean, I ordered some cologne, my favorite, from a very well-known and expensive, and paid for the $2 rush because I needed it here for Valentine's Day.
Cherry Blossom?
$2 rush.
Cherry Blossom from Bath & Body Works?
I'm not talking to you.
I'm mad at the $2 rush.
My point is that it didn't get here in time.
Because it was only $2.
Almost three. No, I meant to say two-day rush, y'all.
Okay.
Let's bring it to the point. My point is that if it were a black business, there are some folks who may have gone and blown it up because you paid whatever. But this was a well-known higher-end brand. And of course, that wasn't going to be my default, nor did I make that the thing that I now think about them, is that they don't deliver on that. That's not the new narrative that I have for them. And so I guess part of it is like we also have to show some grace. Or at least some equity or equality between how we treat each other.
I agree
you got to
with all
stop
that.
shopping at Bath and Body Works. But go ahead.
I just want to say really quick, as a point of clarification, Anifa has not decided that she's going to shut down. She is contemplating shutting down. So I want to make sure we're very clear about that as well.
Well, if she does a raise, I hope she reach out, because if it works, we know we all have the same time.
Your ass is the main one saying that you got a heart out at 2:15. So let me do what I do.
I don't have a heart out. It's flexible, but
let me tell you, we have a heart
out. Let's go. Next clip.
I have. It's a blessed day. I have been concerned. I've been concerned recently, and I've learned a lot. I shout out to Jumani, who joined us last week.
Williams,
and taught
public advocate,
public advocate in New York, who taught us a lot about Tourette's. And after watching that, I also am somebody who is that weird guy who puts on the NFL Network and watches NFL combines. And I found a young man named KC Concepcion. I hope I pronounced his last name correctly. But he spoke with a stutter. And watch this clip that we have here, where he's actually giving an interview, and then we'll follow up with his remarks after.
My meeting with the Bills, it went really well. I'm actually from, I was actually born in New York, The Rock, 585. I moved out of Charlotte, when I was about 5. That is the Bills is actually my dad's favorite team. So I've been watching him. I have been watching since I was young. I've been seeing, Josh Allen, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the league. And, I'll be grateful.
And first of all, shouts out to that brother for standing in front of the mics. And then I'll read a bit of his statement that he put up afterwards, in which he says, "I want to say something. If you have a speech impediment, there's nothing wrong with us. I've had this stutter since I can remember talking. This is a part of me. This is who I am. I cannot control this. I want to be a role model for those who may be scared to speak up, who may be afraid and not confident in yourself, I stand with you. He goes all the way through, and his hashtag, I think, is even more importantly, which is stop the negativity. And so, I wanted to talk about this briefly because I feel like the way we treat disability in this country matters and depends on the way that you look. And it stuck out to me because we were educated and chastised, not Jermaine, Jamani, excuse me, not he educated us in a way, but I'm just talking about just a very generalized way that we were educated and castigated by the way that we talked about the BAFTA moment with John Davidson, and educated in just such a forceful way where this young Black boy got on a stage at his biggest moment, gave his heart out, and yes, he stutters, and there was lampooning on social media. He was roundly laughed at. People mocked him, as I'm sure he's gotten his whole life. And there was no forceful, stop treating this nigga like this. There was none of that. There was none of that from our community. It kind of fell to the wayside. It was none of that from other communities, which we come out and support. And then we're forced to learn about these things. And so I was proud that he stood above it. I hope he gets drafted by whatever team he wants to, but I'm going to buy a jersey. I don't know if he's going to be great in football or not, but I'm going to buy a jersey just because I rock with him because of how he stood up and stood strong.
B, I was going to ask you what happened because I saw his statement. I heard him, and I didn't even really hear the stutter. Like for a lot of us, even on our show. Yeah. Even on our show, we'll be like, often, and we don't have speech impediments. We're just trying to collect our thoughts. He seemed very clear to me, and there's no shade to people who have, a stronger stutter. I was curious to know what happened to make him issue the statement.
Well, he had a lot of individuals who decided to kind of pour venom on it. Yes, you can tell when you listen to people, and I had to educate myself. I ain't gonna lie to you a little bit. And I've learned a lot. So they're filling words, gap fillers that people utilize when they have a stutter. If you go back and listen to him speak again, you'll hear those kind of gap fillers that he used. But at the end of the day, when he walked off stage, he was proud. So I was proud of him. It was a big moment, and I didn't like the way people treated him. But, it kind of is what it is right now.
So apparently in the online community, he was like just picked at, like, it was that kind of thing.
Yeah,
which I got to compliment the brother because I've got lots of family members, cousins and whatnot who have real strong stutters, and what he did with his filler word was he made them mutable. I mean, you could really hardly hear him. When the people I know with strong stutters, you can hear the filler until the next full word comes through. And the reason I wouldn't have picked it up, and I didn't pick it up initially when you first shared that clip, B, I was listening to it, and then I got your point that it was about a stutter. I was like, I didn't hear no stutter. And then I went back through, and I'm like, okay, I hear it, but this is the mildest form of it I've heard. But regardless of mild or severe, what a stupid thing to do to go off on somebody because of what clearly is nobody's choosing to elongate this sentence. The thing is a thing. Move on. Lynae, I know you were about to say something before I
don't even quite remember. But I just think people are miserable because when I saw that clip, even with, I knew what the context was, but I was waiting on the stutter for so long. All I saw was this young man super proud of himself and like doing a scary thing already that is public speaking. Like I just stopped sweating on stages like maybe a year ago. It's a muscle that everybody has to develop. I don't know. I think I just be showing up places. I tell everybody I live my life one Google Calendar invite at a time, so I don't really have time to be stressed anymore. But no, I was proud of him. As an auntie, I was like, oh, this young man who is like going after his dreams and also having this conversation in this pressure-filled environment. I'm not understanding why people are choosing to exploit what they perceive to be a weakness in this moment. And I think it just speaks to a larger culture online of people being miserable, of people just wanting to dogpile or feel some sort of community in the naysaying, in the negativity, because it makes them feel good about themselves. And I just hate that for people who are just, and his hashtags, stop the negativity, who are just trying to be positive forces on this planet when negativity is trying so hard to consume it.
I feel that. What my favorite part about it was when he threw to his dad, like he's in a sentence, but he's like, "That's my dad's favorite team, by the way." Sort of parenthetically, just so you know, that's my dad's favorite team, and I was born here, but I was raised here, and there's a lot of pride in him, and I'm certain that there's great reason for him to feel the kind of pride that he does. Bakari's going to wrap up our FYSA before we move into our main topics.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, God, this is the longest.
First of all, Andrew. No. What we're not gonna do. Andrew's doing a great job, Andrew.
It's not Andrew. It's your fault.
It's all of us, but I love it. Bakari, wrap it up.
I'm gonna wrap it up because it's kind of a natural segue to one of our topics we're gonna talk about in the long form. But Emmanuel Macron, you heard how I rolled that CNR.
I see that.
That was nice. That was cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll take 3 out of 4. Emmanuel Macron talked about how the effect that the Iranian war is having on his nuclear stockpile. And my wife is a conspiracy theorist, and this type of stuff gets her going. Let's listen to this.
I have ordered that we increase the number of nuclear warheads on our arsenal in order to put pay to any speculation. We will no longer communicate on the figures regarding our nuclear arsenal, contrary to past practice. In order to be free, therefore, we must be feared. And in order to be feared, we have to be powerful. This increase in our arsenal reflects that approach. But in order to be powerful, and this is the second part of my intervention, we have to be united. And I'm going to speak about Europe.
To be powerful, you must be feared.
That's kind of scary.
Clearly not what he believes, right? I mean, he's basically saying Donald Trump has reset the world order. And by basically using American strength through the military, going into countries, extracting presidents, sitting presidents of sovereign nations, choosing overnight to just bomb another country, kill their leaders. I didn't believe a word. I don't think he is feeling this with his whole heart. I think what he's doing is saying, America, you have reset the table. In order to now basically prevail, for your position to prevail, you must have a strong military and a sizable nuclear armament so that you can throw your shoulders when you have to basically accomplish diplomacy in the new world order that Donald Trump, I think, has ushered in. Bakari, the one thing what's interesting about the timing of Macron making this announcement this week is that February 5th, 2026, so just the other day, the U.S. and Russia nuclear disarmament agreement expired.
It evaporated.
So for the first time, there are no restrictions or controls on the amount of intercontinental nuclear weapons that can be built by the superpowers of the world. The two greatest of which, from a stockpile standpoint, is the United States of America and the former USSR, now Russia, who were both broke ground with this agreement by allotting 1,550 intercontinental nuclear weapons that each could hold. There were also spot checks where you could go and you could either inventory the U.S. or the U.S. in reverse inventory Russia's stockpile to make sure that what they're reporting was consistent with what they had. And any nuclear fossil material that was moved had to be reported through the Nuclear Atomic Agency, International Nuclear Atomic Agency. All of that goes away now. And the point that Macron was making in his statement was, and by the way, we're not going to share data on how many nuclear warheads we build, how many we contain, or when we move them. That's a big deal. And it really ought to shudder all of us that we're going in reverse. We're going in reverse. Since World War II, we've been moving in the direction of disarmament. And because of Donald Trump nearly single-handedly changing the world order, even our allies are saying we can't be safe.
Right.
Well, I just want you to know $50 billion is being allocated to defense contractors to expedite, billion with the B, to expedite the creation of new military weapons. They're not including nuclear weapons that we know of. And they are actually meeting at the White House this coming Friday And so just know that this is going to be a topic of concern, and your tax dollars are going to be going to building nuclear weapons. And respectfully or disrespectfully, I don't expect Pete Hesketh, Kristi Noem, Kash Patel, Tulsi Gabbard, or Donald Trump to be able to negotiate
Or Marco.
or Marco, because he just can't, to be able to negotiate a nuclear treaty across the world.
By the way, Bakari, your point around not negotiating, Putin said, let's extend one more year. He said this to Donald Trump. Donald Trump was excited about extending one more year to give them time to negotiate, but then decided he did not want to extend one more year. And so the news now coming out of China is that they are not going to enter any nuclear disarmament agreement until they build at least as many nuclear weapons as Russia and the United States have. That's their position. Now, why does all this matter moving into our major topic? Because, hey, you have a Good Friday night. Well, now under Donald Trump's America and world, you wake up Saturday morning realizing that American men and women have been forced into a global war that was supposed to be between two countries and one other, Iran, Israel, and the United States. But because of their short-sightedness, absent planning, and any real ability to game theory a war in today's day and age, what started as two countries combining together to go after Iran has now become Iran looping in 7, I think at last count 8 now, individually sovereign countries into what could easily become World War III, if not contained properly. I mean, I have to tell you, I went half the day not even knowing we were at war, simply because my phones, I left them in the car for the week, on Friday night, and I didn't want to bring them to the house, and wasn't watching news. And then I got to them, I was like, you've got to be kidding me. You've got to be kidding me. And worse over, y'all, Americans are in these regions of the world where bombs are being dropped on civilian hotels. And while other countries are moving their citizens out of harm's way, the Secretary of State of the United States and the President began earlier this week saying that Americans were responsible for their own safe ways out of harm's way. Other countries are chartering flights, and that was our initial response until they got enough blowback that the Secretary of State had to come out in a hurried press conference to basically say, hey, we're going to organize some planes and get y'all out. Call us. Let us know where you are.
November is so far away. And it's not even a guarantee.
That's true.
I don't think November, I mean, the problem is, and I heard in one of the clips earlier, I can't remember who it was, but they said that we had 4 lives that were lost, excuse me. And that number's 6 at the time of this show. That number's going to go up drastically. Even Cromer today even said, he came out today and said that you're going to have to put boots on the ground. The fact is, Iran is going to, we've heard Blumenthal say it. We've heard Mark Warner say boots on the ground. The fact is, and I think one of the tasks that the 4 of us have is being able to show people how the Iranian war affects your daily lives. And it's not just gas prices. It's the market dropping 1,000 points yesterday. Mm-hmm. But I'll tell you, Ellen couldn't sleep night before last because one of her friends, Nikki, shout out to Nikki, who's from Maine. She's with my brother-in-law, Aaron. They have an amazing little boy, King, but she got a text message from her best friend that he's going to Iran or close to it. I've been working with Don Staley. We got 3 young ladies who played basketball for the University of South Carolina who are playing professionally in the Middle East, who you have to get home. Shout out to Tiffany Freeman, who's stuck over there in the UAE, who's trying to get home with her 3 cats. You have individuals, and these are just the people that I know that they've reached out to me to try to help put them in touch because there is no plan, right? You're trying to get people to Cyprus. You're trying to get people to Egypt. You're trying to get people to where you can get a way out, where there's only one flight out every morning. And to watch Mike Huckabee I can't curse as much as I used to, but to watch Mike Huckabee flail as much as he's been flailing, to send out a notice from the embassy in Jerusalem saying that you would have pretty much Americans are on their own. While you watch Alex Berkowitz, I believe that's his last name. I believe, he's the one who organized the Nicki Minaj's of the world, et cetera. He's the influencer coordinator. How he was stuck over there able to get a charter plane out, or how other countries, Serbia is able to organize private planes out. And we're stuck here trying to get Americans out. I just find it to be incompetence from the top down. And Iran is fighting a war. First of all, the Iranian regime is awful. Nobody's going to shed a tear over their leadership dying or being taken out. No one should. No one is. I mean, they've been oppressive for a long period of time. The Persian people are amazing people. They deserve to live under freedom. But you should walk into this with a plan. You should actually go to Congress and get, approval. We should know how we're going to get out. And they have done what they accused Hillary Clinton of doing with embassies 1,000 times over. They've done what they accused Joe Biden of. When you talk about the Afghanistan withdrawal 1,000 times over. And this is what happens when you have your premier real estate developers running the country.
I want to toss to, there's a clip of Jonathan Karl talking about Americans trying to get out of the area. So I want to roll that clip, and then I want us to call the number to see what happens when people call this particular number.
Right. So Secretary of State Marco Rubio urged news organizations to put the 24/7 State Department emergency line out so that Americans who are stuck in the Middle East can get help getting out of the region, register their names and not. But listen to what happens when you dial the number.
Please do not rely on the U.S. government for assisted departure or evacuation at this time. There are currently no United States evacuation points. Please continue to check the embassy's website for updated information.
So,
in the event of ongoing...
the bottom line is, if you're looking for help, you're stuck in the Middle East and you can't evacuate, there's no help yet from the United States government. You can call that number, you can go through the website, you can register your name so you might get updates later. But the number that the Secretary of State gave out, what it does for you is it tells you right now that there is no help from the United States government in getting out of the Middle East.
So I wanted to play that clip, and then I want to see if the United States government has somehow found itself equipped and competent today, because that was on Tuesday. So maybe we record our program on Wednesday. Maybe within the last 24 hours, it's been resolved. Let's see what happens when you dial 202 is the number, 202-501-4444. Let's call.
Calling. Welcome to the Department of State's Bureau of Consular Affairs, Office of Overseas Citizen Services, serving U.S. citizens abroad. If you are calling about the crisis in the Middle East, please press 1. If not, press 2.
The U.S. is committed to helping U.S. citizens who want to leave the region to do so. If you are calling for assistance with travel, please stay on the line.
Okay.
If you are calling regarding a U.S. citizen in Israel, press 1. If you are calling regarding a U.S. citizen in Iran, press 2. If you are calling regarding a U.S. citizen in other countries in the Middle East, press 3.
Let me just hit 2 and see what happens. That's Iran.
You have reached Middle East Task Force. Please hold for the next available
This is the third
representative.
transfer, though. Okay. Well, at least there's progress.
I'm glad they updated it. That is progress. I'm glad they real time. But you know what? That should have been right yesterday.
Yeah.
That's scary.
Because I was watching when he came out and he asked the media, "Will you all please run this number now?" And the television network stations and the cable put it up. They put it up on the screen and said, "Americans, wherever you are,
and it's like we can't help you.
Yeah, wherever you are, you're listening. Please call this number now." But again, that was the American default
and we didn't
position.
stay to wait on hold because we don't want to clog the lines, right?
No, of course not. But consider this:
we don't know what happens when they get through.
The president sent us into war on Saturday. Yeah. And when they were asked about the plans to help Americans get out of harm's way, the initial position of the government was that the U.S. government was not facilitating travel for American citizens out of the danger zones. That was their initial position. Guess whose initial positions weren't that? Every other nation in the world. everybody who had no heads up that we were dropping bombs in their backyard. No heads up. But somehow they were able to prioritize getting their citizens out when our very own goddamn government, who knew they were going to drop bombs, and listening to Benjamin Netanyahu, they apparently knew for months that they planned on dropping bombs, but had no condition to get Americans safely out of harm's way. None. It was the pressure of U.S. senators and the American people calling them, basically saying, "Have you lost your mind? Are you crazy? You're not moving Americans out of there?" So just consider that, y'all, that they never had a plan outside of dropping bombs to get you out of harm's way.
Right.
And there's no better indication of what this administration is than that example, that unfortunate, truthful example that they never planned to get you out of harm's way.
And I don't have, and I'm running out of words, derogatory words for this administration. But just to your point, I just want to reiterate, they knew for a long time that they were going to drop these bombs. Yeah. The initial response, the recorded line said, you find your own way out of there.
Yes.
And they did not change it until they got backlash. Did you not expect to get backlash? Or were you like, what is the thought process there? Like,
remember the cruelty?
Like, if you were never going to care, why does the backlash make you switch? Like, you at least had a plan to say, no, we're not going to help you. That's at least what you had a plan to say. I'm
going to tell you, it was enough Republican senators telling them that they were going to get this right and you're going to get it right now. That's what he got the heat of them. But for Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, who also happens to be the national security advisor to the president. So he's carrying 1 million jobs, but didn't consider what it meant to keep Americans safe. What's insane about this is when I said they don't have a war plan, they don't have they can't game this out, is that we haven't had diplomatic relations with this country. And you think that you saw some protests erupting in the middle of the nation, a huge pushback to the Ayatollah Khamenei, that all of a sudden they were going to welcome Americans with open arms and then have what it takes to overthrow a well-armed Revolutionary Guard? Guess what happened when then people walked out in the streets celebrating? The Revolutionary Guard had already backed up themselves threefold on the streets, and quickly those folks were ushered back into their apartments, houses, and neighborhoods. It doesn't work that way. Donald Trump, in intelligence about a place, would have told you that.
And I never want to hear again that women are not fit to lead because their emotions run everything. This is the equivalent of an undisciplined and uncompassionate child walking into a store and touching shit and knocking shit over.
Oh, blowing
it up. That's it, and that's all. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to read this just real quick. The former ambassador of Algeria in Greece, his name is David Pierce. And what he said was, when there's even a chance of impending military conflict, you plan to move non-essential personnel and families out. This administration did nothing of the kind. It bragged it had been planning these operations for months, and yet it made no move to provide for authorized or voluntary departure for the military and diplomatic personnel in the region, or recommending the same for American businesses, students, and tourists until 2 days into combat operations. He surmised by saying, this is a disgrace. So what we're talking about, and the only reason I wanted to quote somebody is people will always say, well, what should the plan be? You know, you guys are up here just postulating and opining. What should the plan be? And that is a diplomat telling you that they ain't do nothing about what the plan should be. And I'm glad we're here to talk about it. But I think elections have consequences.
Speaking of elections with consequences, Bakari, we had elections this week. The primary season, y'all, for the 2026 election cycle began this week in the states of Arkansas, North Carolina, and Texas, just to name a few. And there were some, I don't know, y'all, surprises, maybe some letdowns in some places, potentially some optimism in some others. I'm curious to know, as we observed election night in North Carolina with, is it Roy Cooper? Who got the nomination for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate. Obviously, I wasn't pulling for anybody in Arkansas. Bakari, that's your neighbor. I don't know if there were any races to call out there.
Arkansas had a let me just say, history was made in Arkansas. And I know we don't look at Little Rock and those type of things often, but Bobby Forrest, who looks like his name is Bobby Forrest Jr., who came in. Bobby came in with the braids and everything else. I rocked with Bobby Forrest. But he won against an incumbent as the prosecuting attorney.
For the county.
And he beat and battled incumbent Will Jones for the district attorney in Pulaski County. He took 53% of the 60,000 votes passed. For people that want to know where that is, that's Little Rock.
Right.
And so that is history being made in Little Rock, Arkansas. Shout out to Frank Scott and shout out to Bobby for winning that race.
Well, some more history was made in the state of Texas as in a very last minute effort, chaos broke out in one of the home districts of one of the leading candidates for the Democratic nomination for the United States Senate. Of course, that's none other than
Jasmine Crockett.
I'm like our congresswoman. I'm claiming her as my congresswoman, but she's Texas's, and Dallas is her home district. Jasmine Crockett, a very capable and unapologetic leader within the party, but just a leader and a good person, period, was against Representative Tallarico, State Representative Tallarico up there in Texas. And apparently, and I don't know if y'all were able to follow this on election night, but the normal order of events in the state of Texas during primaries, and Florida's not like this, so I wasn't really familiar with this structure, but that basically the parties can agree that basically any voter, Republican or Democrat, can go to a super site rather than to their neighborhood polling precinct and cast a vote consistent with what their respective precincts ballots would have looked like. And a last-ditch effort, Republicans decided that they were not going to consent to these super sites as had been the customary practice for, I heard people interview say, for as long as they can remember voting. Right? So this is what they've done for as long as they can remember voting. And in this particular race, a race where all of the legislative seats and congressional seats in the United States, or in this case, Texas's congressional delegation, all those seats were up, and all of them, many of them, particularly in Black communities, have been redistricted, which means people are voting for different people likely than they voted the last time. And Angela, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Secretary of State decided that they were not going to update the state's website that gives people the information on where it is that they can go and vote. It just shook me as very strange to come so late into the voting process and into the counting process that this whole thing erupted with Ken Paxton, a candidate for the U.S. Senate on the Republican side, at a last-minute effort weighing in to basically eliminate the cushion of additional hours that Democrats were given to go and vote because of this chaos that they created.
Well, a court order suggested that the polls stay open longer because of all of the chaos, people being told to go to one precinct only to be redirected to another. And Ken Paxton obviously has a direct conflict of interest being on the ballot, but the Supreme Court sided with Ken Paxton, throwing things into full disarray. There's a statement that was put out by Jasmine Crockett. Christopher Boozy tweeted, he said, the voter suppression happening in Dallas County, I believe we have that statement. The voter suppression happening in Dallas County is abhorrent. The Crockett campaign has put out a statement, and I have yet to see a statement from Tallarico denouncing what we are witnessing. His silence speaks volumes. Included here was Jasmine Crockett's statement that talks about the ways in which if we could put it back up, the ways in which the GOP was kind of playing. And I think that folks saw this as, oh, see, Democrats are now saying that we do need the SAVE Act. No, we don't. But what we do need is for racism to die in the South and everywhere else. I also wanted to flag a couple of things about this race, and then I'll just yield the floor to everybody else to weigh in. There was a post put up by Reuters And Reuters post on X, let's pull that, says Republican Jasmine Crockett said confusion during the Dallas primary led to voter disenfranchisement, with polls initially extended by court order, but later limited by the Supreme Court, as we were just discussing. What's interesting to me here is Reuters getting Jasmine Crockett's, this is Reuters. This isn't like random Joe Blow blog posted Republican Jasmine Crockett. Jasmine Crockett is obviously was running in the Democratic primary. The next thing I wanted to pull is this, because I think this is where we are now. Before the race was even called last night, y'all, there were people who were James Tallarico supporters urging everyone to get behind James Tallarico. The progressive chair in Congress said, he was the generational leader and it's time to get behind him. But this particular tweet stood out to me because Dan Green says, again, before the race is even called for James Tallarico, quote, "Mark my words, if James Tallarico does the unthinkable and somehow flips Texas blue," again, he went out the primary yet, y'all, "he will be a leading contender for the Democratic nomination for president in 2028. Why am I bringing this up? I don't know about y'all. Bakari and Andrew, y'all have won statewide. Andrew, you are
no, I didn't win statewide. I ran.
I ran
You were
statewide.
the nominee, though.
I'm trying.
Yeah, I was the nominee. Yeah.
So
you ran
let me
statewide.
cook, my G. Let me cook, my G.
Yes.
You won statewide in
Yes.
a primary. You ran statewide in a general. Andrew, as I was getting ready to say, you were the closest contender to a Democratic governor that Florida's had in a long time. And I'm just saying this because I'm triggered watching this. I can't imagine how you all are feeling, knowing how Black people have to show up to even be considered qualified to run statewide.
Yeah.
So I just was very triggered last night. There were a lot of people saying a lot of mean things about Jasmine. People going back into, I'm not even going to name the commentator, saying, "Where's the ghetto speak now?" The racism, the things they said about her. There are fair critiques to be raised about Jasmine's operation, Jasmine's strategy on whether or not that would advance her to a general election or not. Fine. But the ad hominem attacks, the way that she speaks, the way that she dresses, the way that she wears her hair, the policies that she implements, whether or not it is fair to say that there is a tremendous amount of light between her position and James Tallarico's position on Israel. All of that, to me, policy conversations are fair. But the way in which they are held and the way in which they lie about Jasmine's policy positions is a whole other thing. It's a whole other thing. So I really would I want to hear from all of you, but I thought of you all immediately because I was so triggered. I was like, I can't imagine how the guys feel about this. This is nuts. And then Lynae was actually name-checked and brought into the conversation. I know we're going to focus on more of that in our mini pod, but this room for all of y'all at this table.
That tweet didn't bother me because I think that the question is still outstanding of whether or not James Tallarico is a generational talent or he's Beto O'Rourke. And that
or
question
not
is
even
still,
Beto.
I mean, that could be the answer. That could be it as well. I mean, I also think that Texas is and always has been fool's gold. And I think that this falls into that same category. And instead of spending money in Ohio, where we actually have a better chance of winning with shared, we are going to spend hundreds of millions of dollars in Texas, and we would have done that with or without. I think that everything Angela said should be stamped as valid and 100% true in the way that Jasmine ran her race, in the way that she was criticized unfairly, and the hoops that Black women in particular and Black folk have to run through statewide. I also think there needs to be space to say as a very critical, and I'm glad I'm able to say this today, she ran a very shitty campaign in comparison. And when we talk about the mechanics of what a campaign should look like. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by is what happened last night, if you look at the numbers, is the same thing. And I don't mean messaging. I don't mean who she is. I mean, I ran a shitty campaign for lieutenant governor, things I should have done differently. Mm-hmm. But I do believe that she got beat by extremely large margins in very small counties. Extremely large margins in very small counties. She cannibalized her election day vote with early voting. One of the things, and I don't really know what happened.
Which is the norm for Democrats now.
Yeah.
Which is the norm for Democrats now.
Which means election day.
Which means, Andrew, that I'm not sure how the whole thing about who runs, that I saw that kind of blurriness on social media, who runs, who's running this time, who's running that time. I didn't necessarily understand all of that, who got a chance to. There was a conversation about James running for this and Jasmine running from this, and we were going to run for this. But that means you have to create a new voter base. That means that you have to spend the energy, party structure, infrastructure, campaign structure to register new voters in places where otherwise you offset that cannibalization. And what happened, what we saw last night is that the voter suppression is real.
Yeah.
For real.
Right? The voter intimidation is real. The racism is real.
Yeah.
But also she lost by 5 points. So
5 percentage points. He cleared 1 million votes. Yeah.
Yeah, he cleared 1 million votes. So we have to have space for this. In my opinion, we have to have space for the fact that the voter suppression and the racism is real. We have to have conversations legitimately about campaign tactics and the way that we train campaign strategists, the way that we campaign, the way that we train our campaigns, the way that we change our campaigns. We have to have space for all of that. And we have to have space to be able to call out the things that Jasmine went through that others would not have to.
Yes.
So I think that there has to be space for all three of those. And I know people are going to be in the comments and say, well, you called her campaign shitty. You're not for Black women. I'm like, well, that's not the case at all. If Jasmine was here, I want to give her a big hug. I do want to, let me just put a, let me just put a pin on it real quick. All I want to say is
I'm
that.
going to ask you to go backwards. Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted you to, I'm not, as someone who has never ran for anything, could you be a little bit more clear about what made her campaign shitty? Like what should someone
I think, and I don't even know if, I don't even think it probably has more to do with the infrastructure that's in place in Texas that is replicated at a lot of places, say for maybe Florida, and certainly Georgia. And what Stacey Abrams did for Georgia has people a little bit misconstrued about the way that this thing actually works. Because Stacey spent tens of millions of dollars going on not a precinct level, but a sub-precinct level in Georgia, in these counties that Black folk and Democrats had never gone to, registering voters, building precinct chairs, getting them mobilized and activated. That way, when a candidate came along, whether or not it's Ossoff or Warnock or whomever it is, they were able to build on the infrastructure that was in place. And so my criticism of Jasmine's...
Barack Obama did the same thing, except he had to fast forward it because he did it in the same cycle he was running.
Correct. He did it, and then he kind of destroyed it later, but that's a whole another...
Yes, we know that.
But that's a whole nother thing. But my point is that...
the same.
The theory is still the same. And so what Barack Obama did, to Andrew's point, what Stacey did to my point, is that she built a whole new voter block. She educated those voters. She gave them the tools necessary to mobilize their own environments. And because Jasmine is the last one to run, I attribute that to her campaign. Now, Jasmine may tell you differently that this is a function of the Texas Democratic Party.
It is.
I don't. And it may be both, or maybe one or the other. I don't know that.
Definitely, that's why parties exist.
That's why parties exist.
Yes.
But I will tell you that the candidates and outside entities have done that before, is my only point. And that's a lot to ask. And that's why I also prefaced in my rant that I don't know what went into who's running for what, how we're going to do this, because I did see that kind of percolating. But I think that, like, I love Jasmine, and I just really want to have a conversation with people that take emotions out of everything, and like, how do we campaign better is my only point of this.
Yeah. By the way, you don't have to annotate every comment with how you love her, because I think we're mature and we should be able to say.
And I genuinely just wanted to understand.
I think we should be able to call a thing a thing. The truth is that kind of infrastructure level building is what parties exist for. Now, if Texas is anything like Florida, I know that struggle very well, that isn't what parties have been able to afford in off cycles. And so when candidates come in to states like ours, and I would say Texas is similar, you have to be prepared to not just run your own campaign, but you've got to build your own voters on the way to running your own campaign. And given the point at which she decided to enter this race, it could have been a foregone conclusion that she was not going to have the time or resources necessary to build the back-end infrastructure that would allow her to emerge the ultimate winner in the race. Tallarico didn't necessarily need that because the default registration, my guess is, amongst the Texas Democrats is that they probably got a lot of liberal whites. There is a good, strong black and probably black female constituency. And then they have the Latinos in South Texas and along the border that was very, very, very helpful to him in looking at the map. I know what it feels like to not have that help as a black candidate in Florida, seeing the numbers flee from me and the Hispanic vote the way that I saw that showed up for Hillary Clinton, but we're not there 2 years later in my race. And we gotta get to that at some point. And we may not be the ones. We may need to bring folks of the community in to talk about what happened there. Because after the race, I sat down in Orlando with a roundtable of Latino leaders, and the stuff that they were telling me that was being said about me on the WhatsApp channels and all this kind of stuff. I mean, I was like, I was worried about racism with white folks. I didn't know what had to be dealt with here in that way. And I don't want to cast a total and complete aspersion here. We won the majority of Latinos. There's no doubt. But there are real hurdles for black folks competing for the Democratic Latino vote in places like Florida and Texas. I will say this. I think that she, of course, has a talent, but the party was faced with a choice. And I think the choices were stark. It is, her theory of change was, the way we are going to win Texas is we have to deepen into our natural constituency and give those voters who have chosen that not to show up and show out because they had no reason to, that the numbers are there, but they were not they simply have not been motivated to get out there and vote for a candidate because nobody has inspired them to believe that when you send me there, I'm there for you. I'm your person. When you send me, you sending us. She felt like she had the ability to motivate and inspire the base of the Democratic Party to show up in numbers that are impressive enough to win that state in a statewide election, assuming that Republicans would be disaffected enough not to vote for the Democrat, but not to vote at all. Not to vote at all. And by the way, I ran on the same thing in the Democratic primary in Florida.
And you were one mega church away from winning.
I'm talking about the primary. I'm talking about the primary. Because you've got to, but people always say, oh, well, if she wins the primary, she's not going to be able to. No. Let me tell you this. You've got to win. In order to win the general, you got to win the primary first.
That's
and
right.
if you can't win a primary, I don't trust you to win a general. So that was her theory of change. His theory of change was, we are a loving and open enough party. Forget the party. We're an open and enough people that we've got room for Republicans, independents, Democrats, no party affiliates, whoever you are. Let's unite under this banner of love. And his theory is that there will be enough Republicans that he will be able to convert to vote for him that will make up for the absence of a motivated Democratic core base, and I would say that is black voters. So for what they won't show up for him, if they, assuming they, I hope they do, but if his calculus, their math was, if I can't inspire them at the same level as she can, I will make up the difference by getting Republicans to vote for me and my Christian, neo-Christian.
That's the same tired logic they've been using to lose race after race. Lynae, you have now weighed in here. Some of you.
My comment was actually going to be about James because his outward, whatever he campaigned on, I don't trust him as far as I can throw him because of what he allowed his campaign to do to Jasmine. Like, I feel like people often give these outward messages of togetherness and all these things, but what your camp in a primary, what your party is willing to do to another candidate, if it's steeped in racism, is still. And unfortunately, the people of Texas don't have an option. They have to choose him in this race against a Republican because that's what we want at the end of the day. But it still feels like we're still having to choose a lesser of two evils or whatever, because we watched to perpetuate this thing against this Black woman. And shitty campaign though it may have been, given whatever reason or the next, they still did it to her. They still allowed all these things to work in their favor for him to win.
You know what? I'm sorry on Tallarico, because I didn't know him. I didn't from.
I don't know him either. I never met him.
But they think he's gonna be the 2028 nominee.
The reason why, and I'm highly suspicious of candidates, period. I'm highly suspicious of politicians, period, because I've been there and that. And there are spaces I don't even want to go in anymore because you feel seedy. You know, once you walk into the room, I have been optimistically skeptical, but there's things that have gotten in the way of it, which were one, the gumption you must feel as a young white man to refer to a Black man as a mediocre candidate for Congress, right? So to let that cross your lips in this day and age, given your profile, I was wondering what was going on. Number two, to the same point you made, the kind of tactics and the way in which she was skewered by in a paid advertising way by the opposition. And then third, I gotta say, on election night, when Jasmine, within moments of learning about the Supreme Court's stay on the court's decision, got out in front of the cameras, and she didn't blame him. She didn't talk about a conspiracy theory. She said, "This is what Republicans do." Right? So she kept the target was the opposing party. I thought to myself, if this man has a brain and if he's got people who are smart advisors around him, they would be telling him right now, you have the opportunity, given where we sit right now, to be magnanimous. You should go out in front of the camera and say, well, I would love tonight for one of us to be able to declare victory. No one within our party can declare victory until every single vote legally cast is counted.
He said that. He just took him a minute. It took him a minute. It took him a minute.
But this is the test.
Yeah.
This is the test. When you were less certain about how South Texas numbers were going to roll in, when you didn't know what that was going to look like, as a Democrat, and given what your propaganda, what your message has been, you have to believe at the beginning and the end of the day, every goddamn vote must count, especially in a Democratic primary against Jasmine Crockett. You got to say that. And the fact that it came at the end of the night after he begged his supporters not to leave the room because he was coming out one way or another, and that one way or another meant to me that they were hedging. They were hedging on how far he could go with his statement. So his statement was, he said what the big picture is, which is count every vote. But it was the most benign way in which a thing can be said. And all I'm saying is given what his posture was when the news came out, he could have gained significantly, I think, with the Black community. Had in that moment he come out and said,
they don't care about us.
This thing matters. And I wish I could declare victory, or one of us could, but not tonight, not until every vote is counted.
Can
Just
I say
a couple of quick, yes. Well, I was going to say three things, but I was going to try to end on a lighter note. But go ahead, Angela, because I was.
Well, mine is going to be complimentary too, because what I don't want your sister to hear from the show is just critique, especially in your hardest moment. Like, you know, when Andrew ran, I feel like there were days where I took it harder than him because right now I still don't understand. But I want to be very clear. As of right now, with 97% of votes counted, Jasmine garnered 1,067,138 votes.
That's a lot.
That is a formidable,
I'm sorry,
a formidable.
That's more than formidable. That's a lot of votes.
Let me make my point. That's a formidable candidate. If Jasmine were running outside of Texas, Jasmine's ass would be senator of a lot of other different places. And I think the thing that this moment requires of us is not to start pointing blame. Yes, again, there are things that we in our lives as human beings can do different. There are things that we can do different in our places of work. From when she announced to where she got, that is to be commended. What Jasmine has done in the House of Representatives, to be courageous, to have to stand up in the face of a fascist, even getting fit for a bulletproof vest. Jasmine is to be commended for every little black girl, little black boy, little Asian child, little white child that she has inspired, and all of the elders. That is to be commended. I don't want that lost upon us.
Agreed.
Yes, we can do postmortem. Yes, we can figure out what needs to be done better. But I don't want to see her just go and become a private citizen. Sister, I know that's where you leaning. But you are an important voice in public service.
Amen.
And I just hope that you use this to continue to push forward. I would love to see her, as you said, Bakari, start to build the type of ground game that Stacey did in tandem with some other black organizations like New Georgia Project and Black Voters Matter as well. I would love to see, and I'm not saying that those apparatus do not exist in Texas. I would like to see them strengthened. I would like to see that happen in Arkansas. I want to see it in Mississippi. I want to see it in Louisiana. I want to see it all throughout the South, South Carolina, North Carolina, to continue to grow, because while we're building that, they are shutting down precincts on our kids' campuses. So we have to be clear about that as well. If Jasmine was not up against white people saying, well, we need to vote for the electable candidate. If she were not up against polling precincts being told they're going to stay open till 9 and instead they close back at 7 because y'all were sending people all types of confusion and they couldn't even figure out where they could go to vote on the Secretary of State's website. We have to be clear that in spite of all of that, she came into a very close second numerically, maybe not percentage-wise.
I think it's around like 140. Yeah, I saw the number 2 and thought I was just wrong. It's 140,000 candidates. And just to sum it all up, here we see once again, votes. Once again, we are very close to, we're showing that we could literally win if we didn't have all these impediments. But that's all. Sorry,
no, that's
Bakari.
real. I apologize because I took it as default, and I shouldn't, because as a candidate, having run myself, that Jasmine was not only eminently qualified for the post that she was seeking. She got out there every single day since she has arrived in Congress, fighting.
I'm telling you.
Every single day, not just for her district, not just for her state. She has fought for the nation. And unfortunately, we still live in a society, and this society, there's no party affiliation to cure anybody from the symptoms of this, that white supremacy is real. I don't know, Tyler, I wish him well. I also wish him a deepening into.
He needs another senior advisor.
Well, his philosophy and his actions have to meet. What you say must meet. Those two sides.
Y'all better go coach him up.
But
because I'm gonna end up cussing him out.
The other thing is that if there is sadness by people in Texas for having lost your fighter, champion, member of Congress who was all the way down to do whatever was required, obviously helped to prop her up on her leaning side, and we would be here to do it and any day of the week. But Jasmine isn't done. And so she can't be put out to pasture. She needs to now be shrouded in the encouragement, embrace, bosom of the community, and not just black folks, but the community of Texas that she has gone out there and sacrificed and fought for, and still is fighting for in this moment, to let her know, not just speak things into her, but to sow them into her. If a consultancy and a job and a this and a strategy is what's necessary to hold her over until her heart can become clear about what she wants to do, then you do that thing. Because I'm sick of the usury. This is why I've been so obstinate about, okay, Andrew, you need to get back in the da-da-da. No, I have a thing on my shoulder. Because now it is you want me to be in service too. And when I needed and couldn't even form the words to express my need, it was me and the walls.
Yeah.
And the breathing, living bodies in the confines of my home. So I can imagine that one of the thoughts that she is speaking to herself is, I am only useful when I am in service to you.
My God.
And what she should know is she is useful every day of the week, in and out the week, weekend, 24/7, 7 days, whatever. She's such a gift. I know God is going to continue to move in a mighty way, and it may not be clear today, but the clouds will clear and it will become obvious and irresistible what the thing is. But if nothing else, y'all stop putting us down as tools to be used for an assignment of your choosing. And then when my ambition makes itself manifest, you have counted me out before I've begun because that isn't the way in which you thought this tool was supposed to be used. And that is my biggest peeve about the race, is that people decided the boxes she was supposed to fit in. And when she decided that there were no borders around her gifts, is when they had to kick in and remind her that though there are borders, there are levels to this, and there are conditions that must be met before such and such and such. Or, quite frankly, that isn't what we see for you. This is the thing that you were really good at, and I just wish you would have gone back to do that thing.
I'm glad Lynae has a whole video breaking down the misogynoir in this race, because I want to talk about that and whether or not we think Barack Obama called Jasmine to tell her good job based on his fervent support for James Tallarico. But I digress. B, I think you were going to take us on.
Well, we're now at the point of the point.
Call to action.
No, I didn't. No, call to action. I can lean into that. I think that what people outside of the body politic realize is that the ceiling that's placed upon Black folk is that glass ceiling is a lot thicker and harder than people imagine. And, I ran in 14. Andrew, what year were you?
18.
18. Stacy was 18. There was 18. A young man, Tyson, he ran for Secretary of State down in Louisiana throughout the South. And Jasmine Crockett is another name that chipped away at the glass. And I think Jasmine will know and needs to know and feel that the person who finally shatters that glass, it'll be because of people like Jasmine Crockett and Andrew Gillum and Stacey Abrams and the many others who put themselves out there. That's first. And my last point about what we saw yesterday is that to bring a little joy to your hearts, there were 4 Black Republican congressmen. Wesley Burgess, I believe, is one of their names.
No,
it might not be.
That's not his name, is it?
I just gave him a name.
Don't even worry about it. You talking about Utah.
Byron Donalds, John James, Wesley Hunt, and Burgess Owens. Byron Donalds is now running for governor of Florida. James is leaving to run for governor of Michigan. Wesley Hunt, the little bald head, no offense, Andrew guy, lost his bid for the Senate in Texas. And now we just have
came in a distant third place. He couldn't sneeze on 1 million votes.
Yeah. So right now you're just down to 1. I will say my call to action is a lot like Jasmine Crockett, be the very best, particularly Black folk. I know we have to be exceptional, but the young people listening, go out and be the very best that you can be. She exhibited that throughout her career. Jasmine Crockett puts me in the mind state of a woman that I've been thinking about a lot over the past 2 weeks that I got the chance to know, named Cheryl Mills. Who is none other than the general counsel, been the best friend and confidant and lawyer for the Clintons. And many people just actually found out who she was or that she existed this week as she was shepherding Bill and Hillary through their testimony. But Jasmine reminds me of Mrs. Mills a lot in that they are really, really exceptional. They take no shit and they're really, really good at their jobs. And so if I can be a lawyer, I don't mind people saying that, Bakari, you remind me of Miss Cheryl. I think that would be a hell of a compliment. So young people, call to action. Be extraordinary, be the best you can be. And even in your losses, sometimes, those things turn out to be blessings.
I would like to say, I guess that's the call to action. I would like to say my call to action is responding to this James Tallarico text I just received.
I got one too.
It's James Tallarico. Our movement won, but flipping this seat will take everything we have. Please become a day 1 donor. How did you get my number? Have your campaign apologize to Jasmine first, and then let's talk. Be well.
Yeah, they taking
That's
you
my
off
call
the
to
list.
action. Tell them to hold themselves accountable. I believe in mutual accountability, y'all. On this podcast where regularly my anxiety shows up, and most times my dear brothers are like, calm down, we'll be fine. But 90 minutes into this podcast, my anxiety was right. But I still will be mutually accountable. I love y'all.
Love you back. Lynae, the VVVVVVIP.
I don't know. I'm actually sick of being exceptional, but that's a temporary feeling. I just say that because I'm sick of being exceptional in spaces that are going to try to track my exceptionality at the very last minute. Once they figure it out, try to put something in front of me to prevent me from succeeding. So with that said, I just challenge everybody to check on your neighbors and to be better neighbors. I'm going to say it every time I get any sort of platform. We got to knock on each other's doors before fascism does. We think about canvassing as something that politicians do just when they're trying to get you to vote for them, but we need to be canvassing our own neighborhoods. And I feel like things like that make for a stronger case when the Stacys come into our neighborhoods, when, I don't know who Obama had going in folks' neighborhoods, but like when we're trying to build a stronger voting bloc, it's not about party, it is about our issues. And I've been sort of organizing to myself. I should do better about like working with people and sharing my ideas. But the moment I get some pushback that I already expected, I'm like, okay, here we go. But yeah, like it has to come from us. Like the change we seek has to come from the bottom up. The government is supposed to be empowered by the people regardless. And we just have to take that power back.
Amen. Not to mention, they don't let nobody plan for them. They plan for themselves. And we got to do the same damn thing. The Texas race and what transpired at the very last minute was yet another inventive form of voter disenfranchisement and suppression. And voters, we have to get ready with a vote plan to anticipate the many ways that may be contrived of to get in our way of voting. Something as simple as not having an updated website so you can find where it is that you go vote. Shutting down, by the way, the demand being so great to find where they go vote that it shuts the website down both at the state and at the county level. And you telling me you got to pull teeth to get us out to vote. You have people craving information on how to get to the right place to cast the ballot in time so that it could be counted. Why do I say it? Because I think it was partially a dry run. And places like Texas and Florida, wherever it is that you live, just get on guard about how it is you are going to persist to make sure that we get our votes cast legally and get them counted. Because it's clear to me that these folks, you know how Bakari prosecutors, when they see everything through the criminal mind, like my intention was to do this, but they only see what you did through the criminal mind. Well, Republicans under Trump have a sinister mind, and when you put on the sinister mind around how it is you're going to achieve this thing, which is keeping us from voting, God knows the myriad ways you can come up with how you're going to keep us from doing it. So I'm just saying, this can't be a roll out of bed, go and vote election day kind of situation. We have to make a plan. We have to execute, and we have to start now because the inventiveness of their maniacal and cruel plans require them erecting barriers for us voting in order for it to succeed. Make a plan.
Welcome home, y'all.
Y'all, welcome home. And I'm sure there's some other things I'm supposed to say at the end of the show, but I don't have it right now. So, welcome home. Follow us.
Do you need the
all
script?
Of our socials. You could.
I was like, do you need to?
Follow us on all of our socials. Be sure to subscribe to Native Land Pod if you haven't already. Also, make sure that you download those episodes. Get them rooted in there, coming to you. And all of us, including Lynae, even though she got her statue behind her, so she won her thing. We want to thank you all, each and every one of our listeners, supporters, subscribers, fam, home team who went out and voted for us in the NAACP Image Awards. Don Lemon bought it home in our category this year. And you know what? In truth, He's had a hell of a year. Bruh, we double tapped that statue, and congratulations on it. But thank you all for taking the time to go out, lift us in your vote, and congratulations, Don Lemon, on your victory. Be sure to subscribe to all of the other shows on the Reason Choice Media platform. We are Andrew Gillum, Angela Rod, Bakari Sellers, the VIP and NAACP 2026 winner, Lynae Vanee.
Oh, Lord.
Vanee. And we out here, y'all. We out here.
There are 243 days until midterm elections.
Native Land Pod is a production of iHeartRadio in partnership with Reason Choice Media. For more podcasts from iHeartRadio, visit iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you listen to your favorite shows.